Hey, Funk Roberts here. And if you think managing high blood pressure is all about avoiding salt, you have to think again. Because today I'm going to break down the real causes of high blood pressure and surprising solutions. Plus, I'm going to talk about the similarities and differences between high blood pressure and high cholesterol, which we talked about in the last episode. So we can finally close this loop. And you'll also meet Daryl Tucker, a 58-year-old truck driver who joined my Over 40 Alpha program and no longer has high blood pressure. Do you want to know how he did it? Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Over 40 Alpha podcast with your host, Funk Roberts.
Hey, it's Funk Roberts here, and welcome to the Alpha Daily Podcast. This is episode number 2, and today we're going to talk about high blood pressure, hypertension. But before we start, I want to tell you a story. I think I may have told this before, but I went to the doctor about a month and a half ago to get my PSA score checked, to get my prostate checked, right? I wanted to see what that score was. And of course, whenever you go to the doctor or even a dentist, or depending on what you're getting done at the dentist, if you're going for surgery, or even if you go to, the local drugstore, sometimes they have a blood pressure monitor there, but they're going to monitor your blood pressure. They want to know where your blood pressure is at. So I sat down in the chair and I had the nurse come in. She put the cuff on me and she proceeded to take my blood pressure. Now, at that period of the day, my blood pressure was high. But I knew why my blood pressure was high, because as you will find out in this episode, I'm going to talk about some of the causes of high blood pressure. And so I knew why my blood pressure was high. I knew I didn't have high blood pressure because weeks prior I had gone for surgery and my blood pressure was taken, and it's got to be at a certain level or else they're not going to do the surgery, and it was fine. And I have had my blood pressure taken many times and it's been fine. But on this particular day, I knew why my blood pressure was high. And so the doctor, my new doctor, looked at the readings and said, "Hey man, your blood pressure is high. We got to get you on some prescription pills. I've got a great prescription drug that's going to keep your high blood pressure down." High blood pressure is very prevalent in black people. So I want to put you on this, and let's handle this. And I told him why my blood pressure was high. I said, actually, we don't need to go on the prescription drug, because the reason why my blood pressure high was, and again, you are going to learn about what it was later on. And he just, no, I think, he just kind of let that go over his head. And, he was just very, very, very persistent on the blood pressure pills. And of course, I didn't take the blood pressure pills. And, he didn't even know really and truly who I was. He didn't know who I was. He didn't ask me about my lifestyle. He didn't ask me about anything throughout the day. He didn't ask me about anything. He saw the readings and he prescribed me. He wanted to prescribe me. He didn't actually go through because I didn't take it. But I wanted to talk about this because not only did this story happen to me, and I was lucky enough to know why, because I know about blood pressure. I know what causes it. So I was lucky enough to know that, but sometimes you may not know that. You may not know what's causing your high blood pressure. You also probably don't know that you can naturally decrease your blood pressure with your lifestyle, which we'll dive into. The other reason why I'm also talking about this today is because on my hangout a couple of weeks ago, our coaching call that we have inside the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood every week, I talked about cholesterol, and someone asked me about blood pressure. They said, I got so much great information on cholesterol that I would love you to do something on blood pressure. So I'm going to do this here today. And then the final reason is because my wife and I had a conversation about cholesterol and high blood pressure, which is why I'm wrapping everything up together, because she thought that if you have high blood pressure, you have high cholesterol and vice versa. But I was explaining that's not necessarily true. They are distinct. They are different. So I think today we're going to understand again about what high blood pressure is, what hypertension is. We're going to dive into what causes it, what changes you can make. And then we're going to dive into cholesterol and make some similarities and connections and dissimilarities between the two. But, and you're going to learn more about how a few people in my brotherhood have actually decreased their blood pressure, have actually, solved it, and no longer have high blood pressure through the program. So let's get started. Let's talk about high blood pressure, hypertension. What is it? So high blood pressure or hypertension occurs when the force of blood against your artery walls is consistently too high. Okay? So that force of blood is coming, it's too high, too much blood on the artery walls. And blood pressure is measured in millimeters of mercury, right? And has two readings. So these are the two readings. The first reading, the top reading, which is usually the higher one, is called the systolic pressure. Okay, and this pressure is the pressure is your arteries when heart beats. Okay, so that's the pressure in your arteries when your heart beats. That's the systolic pressure. That's the top number. The diastolic pressure, which is the bottom number, this is the pressure in your arteries when your heart rests between beats. So one is when your heart beats, what the pressure is on your arteries, and the other one is the pressure when your heart's at rest, so in between the beats. The systolic, the top number, is when your heart beats. Diastolic pressure, the bottom number, when your heart's at rest. Okay? And so, what does this mean? Well, you guys probably know that a normal blood pressure reading is typically around 120/80. That's typically the number, right? 120/80 millimeters of mercury, so mm per Hg. But high blood pressure is usually defined as a reading of 130/80. So it's much higher, right? And so 130 or in that zone, right? 130, 132. I believe mine was 130 on that day. So that's why they were concerned. It's like, oh man, it's 130/85. What's going on? Why is your blood pressure here? Let's do another reading. And again, it was, but I told them why. But again, this is not about my story, but just wanted to give you that stat. So it's good to know that, right? Because I didn't know this. It's only been recently when I started taking my blood pressure, right? Because, in your 40s, I don't remember. I mean, yes, you get your blood pressure checked when you're going for certain, medical procedures or going to see the doctor. But generally speaking, they're just saying, oh, yeah, your blood pressure is fine. And then that's it. They don't really talk about the reading, right? And it's only been over the last year and a half when or even 2 years when I've really been going to doctors more and getting my back done and, just really, getting things checked. The number is more clear now, right? Now I understand what that number means. So when you leave high blood pressure untreated, this can lead to serious health problems like heart disease, like stroke, and like kidney damage. So let's talk about the causes of high blood pressure, because we talked about that. What causes high blood pressure? Well, first and foremost, it's your lifestyle factors, right? If you have a poor diet. So yes, I know at the very beginning I talked about high salt, but it's not salt specifically that like table salt, it's sodium. So a lot of times people get this mixed up, right? They're like, oh, I'm putting table salt on my food. Oh, you better not do that. You're going to get high blood pressure. But it's actually the sodium that comes from the food. If you eat high sodium based foods, sure, if you are, pouring a ton of salt on your food, yes. But I always remember when, because I'm a saltaholic, I guess if you want to call it that. I love salt, but I use one salt. I use one salt, but I love salt. I put salt on my food, and I remember people all say, oh, you're going to get high blood pressure, blah, 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 but they don't realize it's sodium, right? Because what happens is people become afraid of salt, but we need salt. We need it in our body every day. We need it, but it's the sodium, the high intake of sodium. Okay, processed foods, which of course are going to have high intake of sodium, and low intake of potassium. So if you're not getting enough potassium, if you're eating a lot of processed foods, and you have a high intake of sodium, that can raise your blood pressure. You know what else can raise your blood pressure? Physical inactivity. So lack of regular activity, physical activity, exercise, workouts can increase the risk of hypertension. Also, excessive alcohol consumption. If you drink alcohol, you can raise your blood pressure. Tobacco use. If you're smoking or exposed to secondhand smoke, that can damage the blood vessel walls and raise your blood pressure. Also, being overweight and obese, excessive weight forces a lot on your heart. It makes your heart work harder. It increases the pressure on the arteries. So those are just lifestyle factors. Poor diet, inactivity, like physical inactivity, excessive alcohol or smoking, and then being overweight or obese. You know, the other thing that causes high blood pressure is chronic kidney disease. So if you have that chronic kidney disease, because health conditions can also affect your blood pressure. So if you do have chronic kidney disease, it will happen because kidneys help regulate blood pressure because it manages fluid levels. So when you're not functioning properly, blood pressure is going to rise, right? Because if your kidney's not managing those fluid levels, your blood pressure is going to rise. I mean, too much force, right, on your arteries. Also, diabetes. So people with diabetes, people who have high blood sugar, that high blood sugar can damage the blood vessels and contribute to hypertension. As well as sleep apnea. If you have sleep apnea, interrupted breathing during sleep can lead to spikes in blood pressure. Guys, so those are more health conditions. But then we also have genetics and age, right? Like if you have a family history of hypertension, you may be more likely to develop it. But again, when I think about genetics, I also don't just take it for what it's worth. I actually look at the lifestyle factors that the family history has. Like, were these people who were eating healthy, working out, not drinking, not smoking, not overweight, they had no other health conditions? And they still got hypertension? Right? Okay. Now I'm going to be a little bit more, I'm going to look a little bit closer to the genetic piece. But if my family history contains poor eating, physical inactivity, alcohol, tobacco, then that's a cycle that needs to be broken. And of course, if it's running in my family history, I can also stop that due to the lifestyle, right? Okay, so you also have to look at that. Always look at, yes, of course, my family has diabetes. Diabetes runs in my family. But if I look back at my family history, my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, they were obese. They ate unhealthy. So yes, it only makes sense that diabetes is going to run in the family because every family is feeding the family the same foods or the same health lifestyle, right? And then also age. Like, this is one thing that happens. As we age, blood pressure increases due to the changes in our blood pressure elasticity. So that's going to cause blood pressure increase. Also, stress and mental health. I always talk about this. The chronic stress, persistent stress can lead to habits, right? They lead to the increase in blood pressure, right? So it leads to bad habits, of course, poor diet and smoking, etc. But it also increases your blood pressure, that chronic stress, as well as mental health disorders. If you have anxiety or depression, that contributes to lifestyle factors that raise blood pressure as well. So it's all the factors. And then finally, your hormonal and medical factors. So hormonal disorders, if you have something called a hyperthyroidism or Cushing syndrome or adrenal gland tumors, this can increase your blood pressure. And also certain medications, which is why I don't like when you go on prescription drugs, because certain medications, but also birth control pills, decongestions, and over-the-counter pain relievers can raise blood pressure. Advil, Tylenol, they can raise blood pressure. So the reason why my blood pressure was high on that day was because I had worked out, I'd taken Advil as well, because of my back, and I was having back pain before I went to the doctor. So I was telling them that, hey, it's probably because of the Advil that I was taking. I took a lot of Advil actually on that day. So those are the causes of hypertension. So you can see a lot of it has to do with lifestyle factors, right? But also, that constant monitoring of your blood pressure is going to be key. But let's talk about hypertension, because high blood pressure, hypertension, same thing, but there's different types of hypertension. There's primary and secondary. Okay, so primary hypertension, which is the most common type, has no identifiable cause. The hypertension that most people have, there's generally no identifiable cause, but it's always linked to either lifestyle, genetic, or aging factors. Mostly the lifestyle, right? Because I see high blood pressure, hypertension, like I see people overcome it in my program due to the lifestyle change. It's literally the lifestyle changes, the eating habits, the taking care of your stress. It's the workouts, etc. So that's primary. That's the essential hypertension. That's the one that's most common, but there's really no identifiable cause. Like you can't put one specific thing, which is probably why most doctors prescribe. Because if they don't know the actual cause, they're going to prescribe you something to keep it down because they can't tell you. They don't have the time, which they should be taking the time to take a look at your lifestyle, at the genetic factors in your family, at the age, and some of the medical history that you have or health conditions that you may have. But the secondary hypertension is caused by an underlying condition like kidney disease or a hormonal disorder. So I talked about that near the end of some of the causes. Secondary hypertension has an underlying condition. So it's easier to diagnose this. Oh, the hypertension that you're having is probably due to the kidney disease that you have. Right? So managing high blood pressure in general involves the lifestyle change. It involves regular monitoring. So you can do that by buying like a quick blood pressure monitor. I have one here. You can get this online. So I can do this at home, right? We can do this at home. This is from LifeSource. I got this from my brother-in-law, actually my brother-in-law's wife. And you can take it every morning, same time. Generally what you want to do if you have high blood pressure or you just want to monitor your blood pressure, you just grab one of these, right? You can get it on Amazon, I'm sure. And you just take it every day at the same time, right? You take it 1 or 2 or 3 times per day, right? Morning, afternoon, evening, and then you take it for a week or 2 so you can see, okay, do I really have high blood pressure or are there certain things that are happening throughout the day that are increasing my blood pressure, right? You don't just take it once. You want to take it a few times throughout the day so you can see if there's a pattern. And if it's a pattern, then it's easy for you to address that pattern, right? And then if you have any underlying conditions that will contribute to it, you need to address those as well. Just like, Daryl Tucker. I talked about Daryl Tucker at the very beginning, who was battling high blood pressure. And, he had the aches and pains that came with age. But after 2 years in the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood program, and again, this didn't happen at the 2-year mark. This happened well before that. But I think he's in year number 3 now. He's not only lowered his blood pressure, but he's improved his flexibility, he's improved his confidence, his strength, and he's managing his life as a truck driver. Because if you are a truck driver or are a driver, you know that it can be very difficult to work out, to eat healthy. But Daryl Tucker is a king. Like we see his videos inside the Brotherhood. He's literally shooting a video of him working out beside his truck with a couple of dumbbells. It's amazing. But we also have Antoine Ennis. Antoine, my boy Antoine's 51 years old. And he faced the struggle that many men do, high blood pressure, cholesterol issues, a lot of pain that would never go away. And since joining the Brotherhood program, I think he's in the 3rd year of this program. Not only has he come off all of his medication because he was put on the medication, but he came off all his medication, so he's no longer has cholesterol issues, no longer has high blood pressure, and of course he's transformed his body and his outlook on life. And then we also have Angel Rodriguez, who lost 49 pounds. He reversed his high blood pressure and high cholesterol after just 1 year in the program. So imagine that, 1 year in the program, your high cholesterol is gone, your high blood pressure is gone, and you lose 49 pounds. But not only that, Angel Rodriguez is now an alpha savage. What an alpha savage is, it's a milestone that we hit in my program. And in order to hit that milestone, not only do you have to finish all 24 phases, that's 2 years in the program, but your testosterone levels have to be over 600 nanograms per deciliter, and your body fat percentage has to be under 15%. So think about Angel, who lost 49 pounds, all due, and reverse the blood pressure and cholesterol, all just following my program, nutrition, workouts, embracing the recovery pieces of it, like mobility and flexibility, the mindset piece, and just embracing the lifestyle that's now part of who he is. This is who Angel is, right? And so it works, right? It's not something that you have to go on prescription pills for. It's something that you have to change your lifestyle. And the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood program is the program for you. You just go to over40alpha.com for $1, just like these guys. They paid $1 for 30 days, and they're in their third and fourth years of this program. And continuing, this is not a program that just gets you temporary results. This is lifestyle changes. It's absolutely incredible. So join. Imagine waking up every day feeling more energized, stronger, and more confident than you have in years. It's not just a dream, it's actually possible. Hey, I'm Funk Roberts, and today I'm here to talk about a challenge that hits close to home for many of us men over the age of 40, 50, and 60. A challenge that's rarely discussed, yet affects millions. I'm talking about declining testosterone levels, a natural process that robs us of our energy, our strength, and our vitality, decreasing 1 to 2% every year after the age of 30. Let me ask you a question. Do any of these symptoms sound familiar? Fatigue despite a full night's sleep. A libido that's not what it used to be. Gaining weight even when you're active. Finding it hard to lose that last bit of belly fat even when you're eating healthy. How about that constant mood change or lack of motivation or drive? Or even worse, what about the constant feeling of stress and depression? If so, you're not alone, because I've been there, struggling with low T at the age of 40 and then again at 49 after taking prescription pills for an injury. It was a wake-up call I never expected. But then everything changed. I discovered a solution that not only stopped my testosterone levels from declining, but also tripled them. And no, it's not a miracle cure or a quick fix. It's about science, nature, and a bit of ingenuity. I'm excited to present to you our new and improved Alpha Max Test 3D Plus. Listen, our original formula was great, but reformulated by myself and Dr. Stephen Anton, we asked ourselves, how can we make this even better? So first, we changed the powder form to pill form just to ensure convenience. Then, by listening to your feedback, we enhanced our formula with more potent ingredients, including an increase in the amount of Tonkat Ali, which is known for its incredible benefits of increasing your testosterone levels. Our multi-dimensional testosterone booster not only helps you to produce more testosterone, but the ingredients in Alpha Max Test Plus have been clinically proven to help increase free testosterone, to reduce and support healthy estrogen levels, to improve your metabolic health, to build muscle and lose fat, to boost your libido and blood flow while promoting better mood, clarity, and less stress. So imagine what it feels like to have your energy back, to see more muscle from your workouts, to reignite the spark in your relationships. That's what Alpha Max Test Plus can do for you. It's more than just a supplement. It's a gateway to a more vibrant, energetic, and more confident you. And for a short time, you can pre-order your bottles of Alpha Max Test 3D Plus and save 50% off the retail price. But this is only for a limited time. So don't wait, especially if you're ready to reclaim your energy, your strength, and your confidence. And by the way, you're probably going to want to buy 3 bottles because this works best after 90 days. So make sure you take advantage of this incredible offer so you can see incredible results by taking our extra strength testosterone booster Alpha Max Test 3D Plus. Order today, and if you want to learn more or read more, you can do so below. Listen, you will not be disappointed when you feel and see the results of Alpha Max Test 3D Plus. So pre-order your bottles now, and I'll see you on the other side. So we're going to move into the second half of this podcast, which we're going to talk about high cholesterol and high blood pressure. Because I mentioned before that I had a conversation with my wife the other day on our walk, and we were talking about high blood pressure, but then, or high cholesterol, I believe it was. And she thought that if you have high cholesterol, then you have high blood pressure. If you have high blood pressure, you have high cholesterol, because they're pretty much the same thing, but they're not the same thing. Okay, they're two different conditions. So let's talk about that. And the reason why I'm actually bringing this up too is because in my last podcast episode I talked about high cholesterol, but I do know that if my wife thinks this, there's probably tons of people out there who have the same thought, who think they're actually the same. Now, let's talk about these two conditions, because high cholesterol and high blood pressure or hypertension are two different conditions, but they are related. And they often occur together. So they do occur together because they're related in certain things, but they are totally different. Okay, they're different. So again, they occur together because both of them, specifically when you have both, will increase your risk of heart disease, will increase your risk of stroke, and of course, cardiovascular problems. So let's break this down. So let's break down how they're different and how they're connected. So let's again, just a quick little overview of cholesterol. What is high cholesterol? Well, cholesterol is a fatty substance found in your blood, and it's essential for building cells. It's essential for testosterone, because good cholesterol is the precursor to testosterone production. In other words, if you don't have cholesterol, your body's not going to produce testosterone. Your body needs cholesterol. Okay, so that's why it's so important for us. However, too much cholesterol can build up in the walls of your artery. And if too much cholesterol builds up in the walls of your artery, it starts to form plaque. And that plaque narrows or even blocks your arteries. So imagine if your arteries are blocked or they're really, really narrow, that's going to cause stroke, heart disease, and a ton of cardiovascular problems. So that's why if you have high cholesterol, you have to make the lifestyle change. Now, not all cholesterol is created equal. Of course, we have two types of cholesterol. We have LDL, which is low density lipoprotein, and we have HDL, which is high density lipoprotein. The HDL is known as the good cholesterol because it helps remove the excess cholesterol from the bloodstream. So remember, we got to remove the excess cholesterol out. That's why your HDL score is very important. Now, LDL is often called the bad cholesterol, but there are two types of LDL, which is why it's important to listen to my last episode, so where I talk about the two. I'm going to go over them quickly here, but why it's so important that when you get your cholesterol scores from your doctor, and your doctor tells you have high LDL, that your doctor gives you the breakdown. Is it the small LDL, or is it the puffy, the big LDL, right? Because there's two types. The small LDL, that's the bad one. That's the one that gets through the artery walls and forms plaque. Okay, so it goes through the artery walls, and plaque buildup happens because it's very small. But then we have we call them puffy cholesterol, the puffy LDL. It's bigger, right? So if you have a lot of the puffy part of the LDL, it's not bad because your HDL is going to remove that. So that's okay. But there are two types. So you have to ensure that your doctor is explaining to you, if I have LDL, which one is higher, because that's going to increase the risk. Okay? Also, there's triglycerides, which is a type of fat in the blood that, when elevated, can also increase your heart disease. Okay? And again, causes of high cholesterol, as we've talked about before, is poor diet, specifically trans fats, the bad saturated fats, lack of exercise, obesity, smoking, excessive alcohol, genetics, and certain health issues. Does that sound familiar to you? Right? Does that sound familiar? Which is probably why people think that they're both the same, but they're not. Because high blood pressure or hypertension is when the force of blood against the walls of your arteries are consistently high. So they're not going through the arteries and producing plaque. It's actually the force of the blood on your artery walls are consistently high, because what this does is it damages your arteries, which will lead to heart disease, stroke, kidney disease, and other health problems. So what's happening is it's actually damaging the arteries, where the other one is building plaque, right? So the plaque buildup, it gets through the arteries and starts to form plaque. They're both very bad. They both are attacking the arteries, but they're attacking the arteries in different ways, which what makes them a little bit different. So what causes high blood pressure? We just talked about this, right? Unhealthy diet, specifically high in sodium, low in potassium, but unhealthy in general. If you're eating processed foods, if you're eating too much sugar, all of these things are going to could lead to high blood pressure, as well as physical inactivity, obesity, stress, excessive alcohol consumption, genetics, and certain health conditions. Does that sound familiar? Right? So can you see now how they are connected? Let's talk about how they're different, though. So how are high cholesterol and high blood pressure different? So again, cholesterol affects the fat content and plaque buildup in the arteries. Blood pressure refers to the force of blood pushing against the artery walls. So they're different. High cholesterol is measured with a blood test called the lipid panel. High blood pressure is measured with that blood pressure cuff, right? That provides readings in millimeters per mercury, 120/80. So they're not the same. They're not the same, but they are connected. Why? Well, one, the impact on arteries. High cholesterol can cause plaque buildup in the arteries, making them stiffer and narrower. And this narrowing can make it harder for the heart to pump blood, which potentially can lead to high blood pressure. So if you have high cholesterol, right? You have a high cholesterol because of what your and the small dense LDL, then that's going to build up plaque in your arteries. And when plaque is built up in the arteries, it's going to narrow and stiffen those arteries. So it's going to make it difficult for the heart to pump the blood that it wants to pump, which will create high blood pressure, making your heart work much harder. Right? So they also share risk factors. Literally the same risk factors. Poor diet, lack of exercise, obesity, smoking, that leads to both. So there's a connection there too, which is probably why sometimes you see people with high cholesterol have high blood pressure and vice versa. And when both conditions are present, the increase in the risk of heart attack, stroke, and cardiovascular diseases are more than just one. So if you have both, now that increases exponentially, because now you have two factors, health risks, that are going to increase your chances of a heart attack or stroke or other cardiovascular diseases, because it's affecting the arteries both ways. Now, can you have one without the other? And the answer to that question is a simple yes. It is possible to have high cholesterol without having high blood pressure, and vice versa. However, they do often occur together, especially if the individual has an unhealthy lifestyle, or you may be genetically predisposed to it, of course. But again, you know me in genetics. I always look at the lifestyle factors of the family before I dive too deep into that. But as you can see, while high cholesterol and high blood pressure are distinct conditions affecting different aspects of our cardiovascular health, they are closely connected health issues that are significantly impacting our men in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s due to the lifestyle. Because while cholesterol affects the fat content in your blood, blood pressure is all about the force against those artery walls. So the cholesterol affects the fat content in your blood and builds plaque up in your, like the bad cholesterol, of course, will build the plaque in the arteries. So both conditions are serious. But the good news is, with the right approach, focusing on your nutrition, right? Eating healthy, getting rid of all the crappy foods that lead to high blood pressure and high cholesterol, which, I literally, if you listen to the last episode, those exact same foods are going to be the same foods here. So with the right approach, so focusing on nutrition, Meditest Boost Nutrition for men over 40, focusing on workouts and exercises, the right exercises that will help us not only fight against chronic health issues, but build muscle, burn fat, and get into incredible shape, cardiovascular shape, as well as lifestyle changes. If you make those lifestyle changes, dealing with your chronic health issues, going to get checked, just focusing on those lifestyle issues, you will be able to manage both. You'll be able to get rid of both and manage both. And remember, you don't have to do this alone, because I have the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood. It provides support, it provides guidance, it provides a community, and will help you succeed. Believe me. We will help you succeed without having to go on prescription pills. So, with that, if you're ready to take control of your health, just like Antoine, just like Daryl, just like Angel, just like, in fact, thousands and thousands and thousands of men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s with a program that's specifically designed for your age, then join my Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood program. You go to over40alpha.com, and for $1, and 30 days, so $1 for just 30 days, you will get access to the entire program, but you'll start in phase 1. Because most guys lose 5 to 20 pounds, they increase their energy, and they learn how to eat right. They learn how to train smart. They learn how to live healthy. They learn how to live a vibrant life, a new life. So go to over40alpha.com for $1. I'm going to give you 30 days. So I've got to prove to you that this program works. That's why for $1, I'm giving you 30 days. And if you want to continue, then continue to phase 2, 3, 4, 5. If you don't, then you can quit. No questions asked. You email Sarah, our customer service, Sarah, Marianne. They will take care of you, because I don't want your money if you're not satisfied with my program. But I will tell you something. 99.9% of the people who finish phase 1 continue on phase 2. And continue on phase 3, because they get results. They get results that they cannot deny. So join the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood program, a program specifically for you over 40, over40alpha.com for $1. I'm going to change your life, and I will be there with you. This is a lifelong change, okay? This is sustainable. So over40alpha.com, and thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Get it done.